My name is Frank Neiman, and I am a former dean president of the School of Applied Theology, and I was that from when I arrived in 1970 to when I left in 1999, August each time. And I was a professor in most of those years, always teaching something. And that's what that's where I came from this thing. I had been asked to come here and take over a school that was training men to be lay apostles, laymen who would become evangelists, which is what I had been trained to do in the school's origin as the Institute of Lay Theology. And when I arrived, there were 3 or 4 laymen here, and the rest were priests and nuns, and I was shocked. I didn't know that was going on. I said, Father Zimmers, what's going on? I can't train these people to be apostles. And he said, well, Vatican II has changed all that, and you have to bring these people all up to speed of what the church is like since Vatican II. And that's what I set out to do. How did the mission manifest itself in the participants' lives? I've been asked, and is there a story that comes to mind of individuals? Well, immediate strong enthusiasm for the vocation that they have. That was almost visible. What we wanted to do was to give people reasons to be whatever they were, and it began coming from all over the world. And it wanted to know what happened in Vatican II and what was the new mission of the church. So we worked toward a central goal to give them a reason for their existence. They saw that in the various classes that we gave to them, and they responded well. There were all kinds of people. I remember some Bill Dibb, a Jesuit, came out of Alaska, and Tom Glenn, priest, he's a priest in Southern California. Within the last 5 years, he's sat at my table at my home and said to me, I have to thank you for saving my priesthood at SAT. There was Brian Timoney. He's a priest he was 25 years in India, and they sent him here to have a year off, and he got so excited about what Christianity here that he stayed here and joined the diocese. 3 years later, I think he was president of the Priest Senate, and he is still alive. And working in Christ the King parish in Pleasant Hill, where I go myself. There was Sister Agnes Miller. I can remember driving her out to some parish where we had a big meeting out in Lafayette, and she later was martyred in Nigeria by I forget which class she was now, but she was martyred in Nigeria. One final person, Bill Levada. Bill Levada was a priest in LA, and he called me and said, I met him in a visit to in some gathering in New Orleans, and he said that he had heard about the SAT and could I help him with the priests of Los Angeles. And so I set up a program that he wanted the same program, but he couldn't get the priests away from their work. So what we did was set up once a week on Wednesdays, and 3 summer sessions of 2 weeks each, or 4 weeks where they went all day. 3 weeks all day. I can't remember all these things anymore. But anyhow, we got our program into LA, but they had to go for 2 years. And then we did that 1975 to 77, and then 1978 to 80. Bill Levedo, as you know, probably became a bishop and then an archbishop and then a cardinal, and then he was named by the Pope to be head of the Holy Office. Arriving at the Dominican Priory here has an interesting story. I had acquired out of one of the classes in the late 70s an excellent Dominican nun who took over as secretary, and she just ran everything and kept it in top shape. She thought we were crammed over there at where we were on the north side with the Episcopalians. And we had a classroom, and it wasn't adequate, and then they doubled our rent. They got a new president, and the new president doubled everybody's rent. It wasn't just us, just everybody that they had there, because they were losing money on it, they said. And my secretary, a Dominican nun, came down here and said to the Dominicans here, you've got so many empty rooms and you're not doing anything with this. This is sinful, she told them, and that they should invite us to be here, and we would pay rent and they would be happy to have us, and they were. And we came down here, and sure enough, why we flourished here. And she picked out her successor out of the class, Sister Maureen Tres-McGrady. She picked her out of the class of about 1983, I think, and she became the head secretary, everything of this. We do, they ran everything. They made everybody comfortable, found housing for them. And all I had to do was get the professors and work on the for curriculum and make sure they went out of here charging like they were good Christian leaders, and that was the whole point of the thing. And not so many laymen anymore, but mostly priests and sisters, but always a layman here and there, and once at least that I can remember clearly a Protestant layman who was so happy with the place that he provided us with a scholarship. Manifesting the mission, what did I do? My own life was so filled with what seemed to be direction from God, that I'd pray a lot, and whatever I thought of, something had come up. People, places to go, things to do, like the business of suddenly having Bill Levedo, who ends up a cardinal, and becoming friends with him, and being invited to Los Angeles. Things like that just sort of happened in my life, and if I really needed a professor, I'd pray and think about it, and they would pop up. And it sounds a little magical, but that's kind of the way it was. And I think that the mission to have eager and interested and trusting leaders of the church, and they come here, and that's what they come to the SAT for, is, they're usually partly worn out, and they just kind of are tired, or and to get re-enlivened and with that vision, the kind of vision that caused the apostles to run all over the place and get themselves killed to establish this. Christianity, God made the world to be one big happy family of humans. And Jesus comes and says, now here's what you teach everybody to love everybody else like their mother, sister, or brother. That's it. When pushed on the point, that's what Jesus is saying. And if you can get people to have that vision of our mission is. Our mission is to treat everybody like family members, because they are. We are one family. That was what God intended. And when you have eager, enthusiastic ministers, you have a living, successful church. And that's what you need is why aren't you eager? And find out why and charge them up. And that's what does it for them. Yeah. But that's in my own life, that always seemed to be what helped. Personally, I would go to the wilderness and it's where it was just like God made it, and there in the you feel or hear the voice of God. How does the poem go? To him who in the love of nature holds communion with her visible forms, she speaks a various language. That great poem of Thanatopsis by William Cullen Bryant. And if you go out into the wilderness and hear the voice of God, and then you go to work, and you're doing all the work you can for the church, and you need to go back out into the wilderness and hear the voice and realize that you're on a very important mission, and feeling it is what it's all about. Yeah. So I've always felt it, but through prayer.